Hello and welcome to Liminal Tarot for the week of September the 10th through the 16th, 2023. My name's Breach Burke, and apologies because I did actually do a recording of this last night. I was hoping to get ahead of the game, get this recorded and up. This past week's been a bit chaotic, and I was really hoping that I was going to be able to just upload this morning and go, but last night's reading was just so it was very hard for me last night. I don't know why. I wasn't feeling top notch. It was all kinds of stuff. I had phone calls coming in. I had all kinds of stuff coming in while I was trying to do the reading. So I just decided let's redo it today and give you a proper reading where I have a clearer head and I'm feeling much better overall. So the first thing we want to talk about today is the astrology. So what's going on? In particular, like I said, we're continuing a month of retrogrades. In particular, I mean, we've had some nice trines over the past couple of days, particularly Mercury trining Jupiter. Jupiter's been making a couple of nice trines in different places. Over the past couple of days, the Mercury one's the one that comes to mind immediately. So, we may have had a little bit of a boost or a push recently, but there's also this Mercury retrograde, this very intense Mercury retrograde going on. And of course, we've got several other planets retrograde. We've got Jupiter, we've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and I think Mars and Venus are the only two that are not retrograde at the moment. Venus is still in its post-shadow from being retrograde. That ended about a week ago that Venus went direct. So, so we're going to do the astrological spread that I normally do. For people who are used to getting readings by astrological sign, I don't tend to do them that way. For one, I mean, at some point, I may relent and start doing them that way. But I think, to me, as I ascribe to both Vedic astrology and Western tropical astrology, Vedic astrology, things like your sun sign don't make as much of a difference. Your ascendant would be the thing that would make the difference, and it would be a different ascendant from your Western chart. So I don't know. Doing it by sign, I always feel like it kind of depends whether you fall more into the Vedic or to the tropical system in terms of how your horoscope actually plays out. And you wouldn't know that unless you had a chart done. So I don't know. I find that those readings can be accurate. Like I look at the Taurus readings online, and they, I have at least a couple that are very accurate. So it's not necessarily a wrong thing to do, but what I find with the collective readings, which is pretty much realistically what I have time for right now, that this is the kind of reading that you're going to gravitate towards if it is something that is meant for you. So keeping that in mind, if you're watching this, then there's probably a message in here for you somewhere. Because it's a general reading, I am going to try to give all the potential nuances of a card in its house position. So I may talk about 2 or 3 things that seem very not exactly related to each other, but they are all related to the house position in the card. And that's because, for instance, if it's a omen about a relationship, well, not everybody's looking for a relationship. If you're not everybody's getting a new job. There's just we want to translate the energy more generally and potentially more specifically what it might mean for people. So I hope that makes sense. So we're going to do a full astrological spread for our viewers. Oop. Now, Anubis just jumped out. Anubis is the card of protection. It's also the card of what jumps into my head is it's a message about somebody who feels in doubt about something. It's suggesting that you are not delusional about something. Okay, so that's for somebody. I'm not sure what, but that's what I'm getting from Anubis, and also that there's protection in a particular situation. So let's see what we got here. We start with these, and then I add tarot to them. If you're not familiar with how I do readings. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Aleister Crowley Thoth Tarot, designed by Lady Frida Harris, as my secondary deck to confirm these. If you like this channel and you like the way these videos go, please do hit like and subscribe. It really helps me boost the visibility of the channel amidst many other tarot channels that are out there. Right now, this is still a very small scale channel. It's very new to people. A lot of people don't know about it. So the more that you like, comment, and subscribe, the more it increases my presence in the algorithm. So, and if you have done that, thank you very, very much. Okay, so we're going to elucidate this and see what we get for today. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. At the end of this reading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this with the I'm going to usually I use a secondary oracle after I do this, just to give just a little follow-up, extra extra boost, extra little reading. Today I have the Norse runes, but I also have the essential oil oracle cards, and so I'll probably pull a message from each one of those before we end. Okay, so let's get started. Now, when I do an astrological reading, I'm doing it by astrological house. So our first house has to do with Aries energy. This is personality, how you project yourself into the world, how you care for yourself, the kind of I am, discovering yourself, what kind of personality you want other people to see. And our card here is the Sphinx card. Now, Sphinx has to do with that which is secret, or that where we have to wait and see. There's this sense of there's something that we are not aware of. And being this is in the first house, this then implies that this is a discovery about ourselves, about what we think, about what we really want, about how we're projecting ourselves to others. There's something here that we're going to make a discovery. There's a need with Sphinx to excavate to some degree, to dive deep. So we may be really trying to figure out who we are and what we're trying to do in the world. And we have this with the Eight of Pentacles. So this is the card of Prudence in the Crowley deck. And the Eight of Pentacles really has to do with, with using your resources. It can have to do with mentoring others. It can have to do with like putting your nose to the grindstone, doing hard work. But it's somebody who has the skills that allow you to, in other words, it suggests that, I feel like in connection with Sphinx, it's saying you know more and have more to offer than you think you do. This is a card about being practical, grounded, very strong Virgo energy connected. We actually have Sun in Virgo. That's literally what this means, Sun in Virgo. And so this is really about getting organized, about being realistic, about being practical, and recognizing what it is that what your talents are, what it is that you have to offer. Don't sell yourself short. I mean, you may sometimes with this discovery, it can be something somebody else says to you, and then you think about it. I see this sometimes when people are writing resumes or building resumes, where people will say to them, if they haven't worked at a certain thing, they'll say, well, I don't know that, I haven't done that. And they'll say, well, but you've done this, this, and this. And they go, oh yeah, I never thought about the fact that I did this, this, and this. So that's the kind of energy that we see here with this. I feel like there's just something you're discovering about yourself. So, you want to kind of take stock. Don't sell yourself short in terms of what you're doing. Now, I like to look at the first house in connection to the seventh house, because this has to do with you. Seventh house is Libra energy, and this is how it has to do with how you relate to others. And I feel like these houses are very directly connected. So we have Thoth here, okay? Now, Thoth in the relationship house can imply a few different things, again, depending. My first instinct with this is a relationship that is karmic, okay? Or one that is, I think Murray Hope, who wrote the book on Cartouche, called it the destined by fate relationship. Now, for some people, maybe. I don't know how much I believe in destined by fate in that way. Just simply that this is somebody coming into your life who may be, and again, I don't even necessarily like to talk in the language of twin flame, but certainly somebody with whom, there's either healing that can take place or that there's a lesson to be learned. There's definitely the sense with Thoth that, there's a relationship that is divinely timed, okay? That this is a connection that is somehow meant to be. And again, when I say meant to be, it doesn't mean, oh, you've met the one who you're going to marry or whatever. I mean, maybe, that might be true for some people. But usually this is more about just somebody who you're going to encounter, and there's going to be something to be learned from that encounter with that other person. So, and we have it with the Death card, so which is strong Scorpio energy. And the Death card, so again, it's interesting. We've got the Sphinx over here, which is the card of digging deep. And then we've got Scorpio, which is also a card of digging deep. So with the Death card, I mean, this is literally about things that are going to change. There's some kind of a transformation. Some kind of shift is occurring that may allow a relationship that maybe didn't blossom before to blossom now. If you're already in a relationship and that doesn't apply, then this still implies some kind of connection or partnership. It could be a business partnership. It could be, it could have to do, if you're married, it could have to do with your spouse and something that's going to happen for them. But there's some kind of an important connection that's coming up. Somebody you are going to be either working with or in a relationship with. Okay, there's this sense of working together with somebody. And whatever this relationship is, whoever it is, it's something that is, there's a reason it's coming into your life at this point in time. There's something for you in this. And death is a major arcana. So when major arcanas come up, we're talking about transformations that are, these are major transformations that are more, I'm going to say, out of our control, rather than when we see variable cards like this. They're within the minor arcana. Those have more to do with influences that can change, that are more variable, that are more changeable. These tend to do with influences that are a little deeper than that, and likely to be things that are sort of out of your control. But a lot of people are going through these transformations now. There's a lot in the collective astrology that definitely points to this being a time of major transformation. So I think the Death card here, it indicates there is going to be some kind of a transformation, and it either is going to occur through a karmic relationship, or it's heralding the end of something that's going to open up the door for a partnership that is going to be important in some way, whether it be a romantic one, a business one, a very close friendship, something. I mean, there's something here. Okay, so let's go back to the second house, which is Taurus energy. And the second house has to do with money, finances, possessions, and also your values. Now, this is interesting because you have Urias here. Now, when Urias comes up, this only is, again, it's very interesting because it's very similar to Sphinx in its energy. This has to do with things that are, how can I put this? It basically indicates keeping something to yourself. And it's advising you to keep something to yourself, because I have a feeling there's going to be something unexpected happening financially. But usually Urias shows up when it's a good thing that's happening financially, not a negative thing. When Urias shows up here, again, the way I remember it being described in Murray Hope's book for the cartouche, not that I always have to go by the book, but for some reason it's just embedded in my head. She had said, that Sphinx, if you see it in the second house, it can mean a windfall is coming. It could mean, you may get a huge sum of money, but don't share it with a lot of people. You don't want people who are going to try to take their piece. Okay, for whatever reason, this is something you need to keep to yourself, because there may be people, and I'm not saying people who you're going to help. I mean people who may just be wanting to manipulate you for that money themselves. But nonetheless, it does seem to indicate some kind of unexpected financial opportunity coming up, or something unexpected with your finances that's actually going to be a very good thing. And we have it with the Prince of Wands, which is the same as the King of Wands in this deck. And the Prince of Wands, I mean, this is strong, Aries energy. It's very active. This is about, the King of Wands is somebody who goes after what they want and gets it. Okay, so I feel like there's been something you have been actively working towards. Maybe you have not seen the fruits or the results at this point. But this is a card of manifestation. This is the culmination of the suit of wands. So we are, this is about achieving something. This is about reaching that level. It's not about being at the beginning. It's not like the night energy, which rushes in, but still is vulnerable to making mistakes. This is about completing something. So I feel like, whatever it is you're working on that maybe you're not seeing the results of it, it seems like very suddenly something's going to change in that arena, and it's going to be a good thing. Okay, third house, we have Gemini energy, and this is house of communication, as all the things that we talk about with Mercury retrograde going on right now. Like they say, be careful of communications, technology, travel, things like that. And that is all third house stuff. So this is the Mercury house. And we have Crook and Flail. So Crook and Flail is about, well, first of all, it's about being seen. Okay, there's an energy of this card. I wouldn't compare it directly to the Six of Wands, but I would say it's a very similar energy in the sense of being recognized. So it's suggesting that to keep communications open with somebody, like you're going to be recognized. There's going to be some kind of status that comes along with anything you're pursuing. This could also be in business, because the third house is the house of business. So this could be a promotion for some people if they work within a business. There's something here that's coming up that is about being confident, about communicating confidently, about self-discipline, knowing when to show restraint, when to let loose, and it suggests again that the work you put into something is going to go somewhere. We have it with the Eight of Wands, which again is the card of communication and travel. And this is the card of swiftness. So this implies to me that the stuck will become unstuck. Okay, there is going to be a sense of movement. Now, when we get to the end of the week, Mercury goes out of retrograde after Friday. I think by Saturday it will be going direct again, but it takes a couple weeks to get out of its post-shadow period, so things could still be a little slow, but this is promising that things are going to move ahead, and when they do, they're going to move fast. I'm also noticing this is number 8. This is the Eight of Wands, and the Crook and Flail card has number 17 on it, which if you add 1 and 7, it adds up to 8. So for some people, the number 8 might be important. It could be something happening in 8 days, could be happening in 8 weeks. I don't feel like it's longer than 8 weeks, but there's something happening in 8. Okay, so if we are currently, today I'm recording this on the 10th, so that would be roughly September 18th would be 8 days. 8 weeks would probably be sometime in November. So, take that if it resonates. It may or may not be relevant, but it did jump out at me, so I do want to speak about it. Okay, now our 4th house. This is interesting because when I did this reading yesterday, I got the air card in the 4th house, and today I'm getting the water card. So there's definitely somebody who's moving, and with water, this could be somebody moving someplace across water. Okay, could be abroad, but I feel it. But even if it's not abroad, I mean, you could be moving across the river or something, or across a lake. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be over an ocean. But there's definitely the sense that somebody is moving, okay? And, and with it, we have the Three of Swords. So this is a card of separation. So, again, this could be somebody moving because maybe they've broken things off with somebody. The Three of Swords could just mean a decision to, there's definitely a sense of trying to go it alone on something, or, moving away from a particular situation that has to do with your home, maybe even with your family. Maybe it's going to be a breaking off there. It doesn't, I mean, Three of Swords generally is a kind of breaking off that is done, so that we can, we cut off the things that don't work for us so that we can learn to heal. Okay, it doesn't mean that we're not necessarily going to connect with somebody or be connected. It could just be that for right now, we may be needing some alone time, or we may need to cut somebody out of our life who maybe is toxic to us or feels problematic. But water, so water in this sense can also mean something very emotional going on in the home. So if you're not thinking of moving, this could just be that there's going to be strong emotions. And it's interesting because the 4th house is Cancer energy, which is water energy. And it's, so yeah, it seems like there could be some emotional drama going on in the home for some people, maybe some conflict, maybe some sense of separation. So that is, that's possible, unfortunately, but it could also mean that, that things are shifting and changing. The water is, if nothing else, it's dynamic. So when I also see that in the house of stability and security, it could just mean that things are moving along, and maybe you feel like you're alone or you're stuck. You're not in the position you want to be. But this is, or you may feel like when it comes to a family member, maybe even the mother, because this is the card of the mother. That is. It's one of those things that, where there could be a disagreement. There could be, a sense where people need space from each other or something. But water is nothing, if nothing but not dynamic and changeable, so I don't feel like this is a stuck situation. Again, I feel like there's something that's moving, and what comes into my mind is this is like some kind of a clearing of the air that needs to happen. But this is also connected with security, so it doesn't literally have to do with home and family. It can just be a sense that maybe you are acknowledging a sense of loss or isolation that you felt, and that you're trying to work through it to move on past it. So that is also another possibility for the 4th house. 5th house, now we have, this is about Leo energy. This is another one of those weird houses that has to do with creativity, creative projects. Can have to do with love affairs, as in unlegalized love affairs, and also with children, if that applies to certain people. And your leisure time, your what you do for enjoyment and playfulness and that sort of thing, and what you take time out for. And we have air. So for air, some of this is going to be creative projects connected to writing. Okay. This could be, sometimes this has to do with travel also. This could be travel for fun or for something like that. Or it could be somebody's children who are traveling in some way, or there could be communications surrounding children. I think of this too because this is everybody's going back to school right about now, and so I feel like there's air brings a sense of detachment with it. So this may be about things moving, changing, and also just getting reoriented, making friends. For some people, this also comes into my head that you could have somebody who is a friend who becomes a lover. That is possible here with this in the 5th house. But again, you have to take it as it resonates. But nonetheless, there is definitely this sense of movement and communication. And I feel like either travel may be a factor, or something having to do with words. Like, to me, air is very much about communication. So again, this may have to do creative projects that have to do with writing or with words for some people. I might be working on something. Now, what do we have with it? We have the 9 of Wands. Okay, so there's the sense of something that's been going on for a while, and something where you may feel tired and exhausted and not want to keep going. But the 9 of Wands here suggests to me that, you don't want to give up yet because you're almost at the finish line for something. So, and then of course, being in the house of leisure, I feel like it may be saying that, you want to finish up this, you want to make that push to finish so that you can have some downtime and some time to yourself, because there is a sense here of, there's wounded warrior energy here too. So for some people, this could be, there's a vigilance. Normally this is the guy leaning on his stave and he's just kind of looking around very suspiciously, like he's a sentinel or he's on guard. And I feel like for some of you, you may be in that space where you are, where you're trying to figure out whether or not you're trying to figure out whether or not you want to continue to go forward with something, or you may be watching a situation that has been making you feel exhausted, burdened, or drained. Could have to do with relationship, could have to do with a child. It could just be the energy of a project, but there's something here that is where if it's a project, I would say it's telling you to push through to the end. For the other, I feel like the 9s are followed by the 10s, which are completions. So I feel like you're moving towards a space where, you can finally relax, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, 6th house has to do with Virgo energy. This has to do with your health, and it also has to do with things that you worry about. Virgo is the house of worry, and service to others, and things like that. So, there's, trying to think what else is associated with this house. Domestic pets. So if you have a pet issue, this could also apply. Something here could apply. But, okay, so we have Isis. So Isis is a very maternal card. It's interesting because it has elements of both the Empress and the High Priestess in the tarot. And generally it's interpreted as kind of a nurturing mother kind of energy. So this may be, in the house of service, this may be about, for some people, about taking care of somebody else, potentially somebody's mother. But there's this idea of nurturing and care. If you feel like, if you're not actually in a position where you feel you're going to have to be caring for or looking after somebody, this could just have to do with self-care as well. And a situation in which you have to be patient. Persistence is called for, but it's patient persistence. You don't want to, if you're anxious about something, you don't want to rush it. In a health sense, I would suggest, again, that this might also be very much about self-care and trying to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. I mean, yeah, we have it with the Four of Pentacles, which is the power card in the Crowley deck. And this, it's an interesting card because on the one hand, it indicates you want to feel that you're stable and secure. You may not, like with all this energy in the fourth house that is, manic and a bit chaotic. This suggests that there may be a need to feel like, you have some routine, stability, security. But the Four of Pentacles can also be hanging on to something too tightly, and that letting that thing go actually will be the thing that brings the relief, even though we think we can't let it go. So this may apply to some people in terms of a job. You may be hanging on to a job for financial reasons. You may think like, well, I hate doing this, but as much as I hate it, I need to, I need to have this because this is what I need to pay the rent or whatever. I mean, yeah, we've got Sun in Capricorn here. And, the thing is, a lot of times we don't realize that, by letting go of something that has been sucking up all of our energy, we now have the energy for something to bring more abundance in. And remember, we have this second house Urias, which says, money coming in that is unexpected, like a windfall that potentially could be coming in that's unexpected. So this just says not to try to cling too tightly to what your routine is or to what you think you need to do. And of course, potentially take time out for some self-care. Okay, we talked about the seventh house, so let's move to the eighth. The eighth house is the Scorpio house, and this has to do with, it's humid today, the cards are sticking to me. The Scorpio house has to do with transformation. And it's a house of transformation. It's a house of, secret things, occult things, things like that, sex, death, other people's money. It's the opposite of the second house, which is about your money. The eighth house is about other people's money. So it's a kind of a weird house, but it implies something about, it's connected to death and that implies legacies and things, but it doesn't have to be a legacy. It can just be, support coming from somewhere else. Now we have the Ankh here. That's interesting, because this is the card the card of life in the house of death. So that to me, for some people, there may be somebody who's concerned about a death. Ankh would imply a death not taking place. Okay, so if that is a concern, and by the way, I just want to be clear, the cards can't tell you when somebody's going to die. Okay, that just doesn't happen. It can tell you when you're concerned about when somebody's going to die, but it can't tell you actually when somebody's going to die. I've actually tested this. And it's weird because it was a situation in which I was actually with my own father, and not because I was looking to, we didn't want him to die, but he was so sick and he was not ever going to recover from what he had, and he was so miserable that it was more a case of looking into like, okay, when is his suffering going to be over? Because you knew it was coming. It wasn't like, this isn't going to happen. You knew it was going to happen, but the question was when. And even then, you really couldn't pinpoint, even in astrology, you really can't pinpoint the moment. Vedic astrology can come pretty close, but all it's going to do is say, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to roughly be, when Capricorn is in this particular position or whatever. But that could happen over and over again. It doesn't mean every time you're at risk of dying. It just means that's about the closest you can get to a death prediction. And even then, the bottom line is you don't know, and you really shouldn't try to find out. It's not going to give you that kind of an answer. Yeah, we have this with the Two of Swords. So there's a sense of, stalemate here, a place of truce. So we are talking about somebody watching this with somebody who's very, very ill, and that might be a concern or worry, then what this is actually basically saying is, no, this is not the time for somebody. But also there's definitely this sense when Ankh shows up also, it doesn't just have to do with life and death. It can also just do with focusing on that which you love. It could be literally focusing on love, but this is about moving towards what you're passionate, getting out of the stalemate. That may also be why we have the Four of Pentacles down here for some of us, that we may be feeling like we're suffering, living our lives, doing things that we're not engaged with, that we're not passionate about. So this needs to be a priority, and you need to make that decision to break that stalemate. Okay. Ninth house is Sagittarius energy, and this is This has to do with long distance travel, and it also has to do with, with higher ed for some people. This is the house of higher learning, as opposed to the third house, which is more superficial communication and knowledge. This is deeper learning, and thus, therefore, it has to also do with our belief systems and what our values are, like our beliefs in terms of what we hold dear, what our philosophy of life is, that sort of thing. That's all connected to ninth house. It's Jupiter energy. And interestingly, we have Anubis here again. And Anubis is a card in this house. This would be a card that relates to travel and movement. Anubis is definitely a card of somebody going somewhere and moving. And we have it with the Two of Cups. Okay, so this is a love card. So for some people, this means an overseas or far away relationship, somebody who's at a distance of some kind. And so that's very, very clear. It could also mean somebody going away to school and potentially having a relationship there. But, and again, if this is not about new relationships for somebody, then I would say that this just has to do potentially, again, it potentially could be a trip, or there could be, some kind of situation where if this is not a love relationship, this could be some other kind of significant partnership. And given what we saw over here in the 7th house, yeah, there could be, this could just be something significant. And for some people, this may well be connected to higher ed. Again, somebody, either they're a student, somebody they meet in school, or, you may decide to take a course or to do something, and you may meet somebody of significance, or maybe just somebody who's going to be there to, who partnering with, who is going to inform you about, who may change your way of thinking or your life philosophy or your way of doing things. So those are all the possibilities. But I feel like for somebody, this is a very strong, you're going to meet somebody from a distance of some kind. Okay, 10th house. This is Capricorn. And wow, we've got a lot of these here now. We've got the twins here again in the Capricorn house. 10th house has to do with reputation, fame, being, your status, your career, how you make your way in the world. So this is more about, like, if 6th house has more to do with your job, the 10th house has more to do with your career. It's Capricorn energy, Saturn energy. And again, there's this idea of partnering with somebody. So for somebody, yeah, we definitely have a business partnership coming up, or it's going to be a connection with somebody that's going to give you rank or visibility, okay? We have it with the Knight of Cups, which is interesting. The Knight of Cups is Cancer energy. You see the Cancer up there, the crab. And so again, this could be a love connection for some people that's also going to somehow spill over into your career or your status or your worldly. I mean, remember, we did see that down here with business. We did see Crook and Flail, which is kind of a raise in status. And this suggests an invitation coming from somebody or from somewhere. So that's very interesting. And Knight of Cups is often an emotional one. Like, I only see the Knight of Cups as associated more with love invitations, but this is in the house of your career. So I don't know. This could be just somebody who's going to bring you visibility. Knight of Cups can just be an invitation to do something that, again, back to that Ankh over here, that you really love, that you really want to do. And there may be somebody, and if it's not somebody who you're literally partnering with, it could just be somebody who's going to help you along in some fashion. It could have to do with support. You could be somebody who provides financial support. They could provide mentorship, or just some kind of advice or something that's going to help you move along. And there may be an invitation connected with that. So that's interesting. Yeah, seeing a lot of this interesting stuff about working, either meeting others or working with others in this particular spread. Okay, so now we've got the 11th house, which is your hopes and wishes, your goals, also your friendships and your networks, okay? And this is interesting because we have Osiris here, and we have it with the 5 of Wands. So this can indicate, this is interesting because Osiris is, generally it's Sagittarius energy, but I associate this very heavily with the Emperor card. So, which would be Aries energy. So there's definitely fire energy associated with Osiris. And Osiris is about a stable situation, something that's stable and that's secure, something, building a solid foundation for something. So this could be, referring to a friendship or somebody, again, this person has leadership qualities or very good judgment. So it may be a friend who you can rely on, somebody who's kind of a rock in that sense, that you can talk to and count on. And the fact that it's occurring with strife seems to indicate to me that there may be a situation where you feel like you're in competition with others, or like there's little quarrels or game playing or something like that. And this is suggesting that, that you're focusing on what's solid, okay? Or focus on building what's solid and don't get caught up in this kind of strife. Five of Wands strife to me is also not particularly serious. It's more like the kind of game playing that you can walk away from. Okay, it's not, and it's not where anybody necessarily gets seriously hurt. It's just kind of, it could be competition too. It could be competition to reach a certain level or to do something. I don't know. For some people, this may connect in with all this other stuff. There could be a particular person that you feel like you're in competition for attention or something. I mean, that's possible as well. If that seems to connect in with all the other things, but again, not, those interpretations are not for everybody. Okay. So now let's look at the 12th house here. Okay, 12th house is Pisces energy, and this has to do with what is hidden. And we have Hathor. Okay, Hathor is, okay, so this is strong feminine energy. This is, this is the house of what's hidden. Then this is an interesting card to show up here, because this is a card of independence. It's a, for women certainly in particular, it's a card of somebody who is organized, who has their act together. This also is very strong anima energy. So for men, this could be, this could represent like a fear or a concern about the anima. The anima being the soul, the male soul is actually female. The soul of a man is usually feminine. And so there's something here. There's, Hathor can have to do with creative impulses. This can have to do with, security too, domestic security and things like that. That might actually make sense in light of what we see down here, and that there may be a fear of a loss of security, or a loss of feeling like you're in control of your situation, or that you have it organized or together. And that kind of makes sense too, if we're seeing this Four of Pentacles over here in the Virgo house, which is opposite. There may be this fear of this loss of security. And yeah, it's interesting because I always think of Hathor as the Empress, and it's here with the Empress. Okay. For some of you, this could actually be a worry about your own mother too. I mean, there could be something going on where you might have a concern, because again, we've got this Mother card opposite here. So for some people that may apply, where there may be a concern about somebody's mother, or a hidden anxiety. Although I'm not seeing, again, especially if it's an anxiety about life and death in somebody's mother, this seems to be saying, no, you don't need to be anxious about that. Like, that's not, whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be the time for that. But, again, that's very, very specific, and I don't think this applies to most people. So, but there's definitely this idea. I feel like more fundamentally for most people, this is going to be a fear about how something is going to grow, whether or not seeds you've planted are actually going to yield fruit. And this kind of an assurance that, there is, this is something that's a concern, and it does go along with concerns about security, because that is, when we do try to do something new, when we break ranks and we decide to plant new seeds, start new creative projects, do things. I mean, it may be a project we're working on and we feel worn out. I think it's just saying that, you've got to allow those seeds to grow. Don't freak yourself out. Don't worry because you're not seeing the fruits yet. This is definitely a week where we're going to be, transitioning into a new phase. So, so you need not worry about that. Okay, overall, we've got Nephthys, and we've got it with the Ten of Swords. Okay, so this is interesting. Ten of Swords suggests that something is coming to an end. You are absolutely at the end of something here. All of us are. There's some kind of a cycle or situation that's ending for all of us. And with Nephthys, we don't actually know what's coming next, okay? And we actually are in a situation where maybe we don't need to know what's going to happen next, and we should take the position that we have, you should take the position with Nephthys that that you don't need to know right now, or you don't need to take action right now. This is not a time to take action. So, so right now you just need to kind of, something is ending, but don't assume you're going to be able to jump into the new thing right away. Something may be coming to an end, and we need to see. So I feel like a lot of what's going on here is going to show us where things are headed, but we are at a point now where as we're still waiting you have to complete something before you start something new. and you may not actually even have you may not even have enough information in it right now to move forward. You may be usually nepenthes comes up when there's still something we don't know. So be patient. If you're feeling insecure about where you're at with something, just know that there's that's good, that will end. But where you're going, there's still maybe more things to be finished before you're going to move forward, and you'll have more information about that soon. So those are our cards for this week. In addition to these, I'm going to pull a Norse rune. And whoa, yeah, we have Hagalaz this week. Okay, so Hagalaz says disruption. It's kind of, Hagalaz reminds me a little bit of the Tower. And it brings an energy of disruption. So yeah, that kind of fits in with the Ten of Swords here. There's some kind of a disruption. There's going to be some kind of an ending, something that's going to surprise us. But these disruptions are necessary to recalibrate us and put us on the right path and in the right direction, because we may be laboring under an illusion right now. We may be trying to make decisions based on current information when we don't have all the information. So so there's a lot of changes coming right now, and we just need to kind of sit tight and expect that there may be some shakeups and things. But what I've learned with those shakeups is that they're not always bad. It's not always a negative shakeup. Sometimes it's just surprises us. It's just something that comes out of the blue, and we think, whoa, where did that come from? That wasn't what I was expecting. But it doesn't have to be bad. Sometimes it actually most of the time, it actually does ultimately, if it's initially upsetting, it does lead to something good. So let's see what we have here for our essential oil oracle cards. Let's see. Well, I got 2 today, so let's see what that is. Okay, so our 2 cards are adaptable and grounding. Okay, and what these say on them, the grounding card says your keyword is rooted, and trigger statement is I am somewhere else. True statement, right here, right now, everything is perfect. It says allow your energy to shift to the material plane where it is needed to help you complete what you have set out to do. And our second card of adaptable, the keyword is liberated. The trigger statement, what happens next? Very interesting. Yeah. Grounding in the face of change, and then what happens next? True statement, I am divinely connected. It says, dear soul, remember that you never walk alone. Okay, so this is the suggestion that, we are kind of in the gap here, and we need to retain our center. We need to be very grounded and practical about what we're doing and where we're going. We need to tie up loose ends, which is definitely an aspect of retrogrades. This is always a time for revisiting, not necessarily for initiating new stuff. So do keep that in mind. Now is not the time to initiate too much stuff. Just kind of, go along with the flow and see, where everything is headed. And if there are things right now that are worrisome, again, we don't have all the information yet, so don't worry about making decisions. That's it for me for this week. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.